I'm Stephen John Drew from the official GonnaGeek.com show, a weekly geek news podcast that is a part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other awesome geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Stand by for a brand new episode of All Things Good and Nerdy.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 361 of the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast, recorded live on Sunday, June 9th, 2019. And we are back for real this time. Last week was a trial run. We were sort of back.
Do you mean for Will?
For
No.
Will? No.
Fair
But,
enough.
Willie, you trying to get top billing on this show now?
When am I not? Yeah, since day one he's been trying.
Okay, hold on a second. How many episode titles have been a pun on your name? And how many episode titles have been a pun on my name?
Yes, but whose name is a synonym
Not
for
enough.
penis?
And too many.
Do what you love and you don't work a day in your life.
That's not true. Everything becomes work eventually.
Not everything.
Just toss me down that just throw me downstairs.
Not
That's-
everything. Or if it does, I just haven't hit that point yet. That's right. So we are back live, like I mentioned, Sunday, June 9th, 2019. We do have the full crew here today after our brief hiatus. I'm Chris. Joining me as per normal, of course, one Anthony Bachman.
Hello, hello.
And of course, the one and only, but not that Willie Nelson.
That's fair. Mr. Micro Machines over here going super fast.
I went fast.
You're like, June 7th. I was like, whoa.
See,
shit,
I'm
that
rusty,
was
man. I'm not used to. I haven't been on the mic but for like 2 podcasts
No,
since I came
not
back.
bad. It's not a bad thing. It's just something different. It's like, whoa, you are in the mood, mano.
I'm got the itch to podcast, guys. I usually have a pretty full schedule of podcasting, and I've been out of
I'm
it.
sure they have a pill to clear that up.
It's little and blue. We call it the Willie Nelson device.
It's the pill's called the device. Jesus,
It is
High
called the
tech shit
device.
here.
I don't know why I called it a device. I don't know.
It's got a little what they call nano machines in it, nanobots.
Nanites.
Ooh, I like that. Sexy. That's sexy. That's super sexy. I like.
You're weird.
I mean, yeah.
Right
Is that
then. So
really proud?
how are things going? What you guys been getting into the past few weeks?
Vidgy games. Lots of Vidgy games. And movies. I saw Dark Phoenix.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
you and
sorry.
like 6 other people saw it on Friday, it seems like.
Me too. I'm
What did
sorry.
it pull
I'm
in? Like
sorry as
14
well.
mil on Friday? Like the lowest X-Men opening of all
Like
time?
like $14. It was not good.
Look,
So no one cares about this movie, right? So
even
I just have one question.
even Disney doesn't care.
I just have one question about this movie. I don't care
Hardcore
if spoiler it.
X-Men fans still care about it, but the general public does not. And yeah, Friday estimates were 14 million according to Box Office Mojo.
You can choose not to answer this, but I just have one question.
Okay.
Does this have aliens in it?
Sorta, from what I'd read.
Oh, you saw it too?
I didn't see it. I just read about it online.
He read about it, but there hasn't been anything in the trailers about it, so I'm going to say spoiler for next week.
No, I was
Well, that's
going.
kind of an answer anyway.
I went to the movies on Saturday, but I went and saw Booksmart, not Dark Phoenix.
Ooh, that's on my list to watch. I wouldn't
Watch
go
it now
see
while you
movies
can.
too.
It was only showing once a day this weekend, so
Oof.
my guess is it ain't gonna be in theaters much longer.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
I can choose that one time a day. But I also wouldn't go. I've seen 2 movies since we last talked in theaters. Detective Pikachu.
It's
Is
delightful,
one of them.
isn't it? Isn't it delightful?
It is delightful. Although I will say, the CGI looks amazing, except there's a couple of scenes, a handful of scenes where like, oh god, the CGI just looks shit right here. What happened?
Yeah, there's a
There's
couple
a-
weird hiccups in it.
There's a little part when Mewtwo is getting like he's all electrified and getting put into like a container, and I was like, oh god, that just looks terrible. Like it looks like it was animated, like hand animated.
Ooh,
But when it's supposed to be CGI, that doesn't look good.
no.
But
no.
it looks beautiful everywhere else except for like a handful of scenes.
Hmm.
And the story, the plot, the twist in the end was, I saw that coming a mile away. In fact, I was like, please don't be this. It's way too obvious. Please don't be this. But it was. I'm not gonna say what it is, of course. And then the other movie I saw, which I was a little disappointed in, Brightburn.
That's because you don't like fun.
I thought about going to go see it. I just didn't make it there yet. I only had
It
time
just-
for one movie this weekend.
I seriously think the mother should have been indoctrinated. That would have made a lot more sense. That would have solved a lot of the issues for me.
I thought it was a good, vicious ride. And that kid's a really
I get it, too.
fantastic actor being a sociopath.
Maybe I just hate that little fucker just being a dick. Fuck that asshole.
He is. He is the worst kid in the world.
Fuck that little prick. That's all I gotta say.
So
And I
let's
do like the end of it where it has all the the other things at the in the little when
Yeah.
Michael Rooker's doing like Lucy. Like, wait, is that? Is that? Oh, I see what they're doing here.
Yeah,
I did love that.
The end was really good because you're kind of expecting something at the end of the movie when the credits roll. You're like, oh man, and then there's little during credit scenes that work really well at the end of Brightburn.
And I'm going to spoil this. It has no reflection on the storyline. Dwight Schrute does show up at the end from the movie Super, James Gunn's Super. He does show up at the end. That is so hilarious. That was a weird movie.
Yeah, I've heard it was weird. So let's.
Rainn Wilson gets raped by what's her name? Shadowcat.
Ellen
Ellen Page.
Page.
Let's
I said what I said.
let's step back a sec to X-Men. Anthony saw it as our reigning comic book aficionado. Just general impressions. Should people waste their time going to go see it? Or let me rephrase: Is it a waste of time?
Just
I mean-
setting it up.
If you just love the X-Men movies, you've loved all of them, and you're a huge McAvoy and Fassbender fan, you'll probably be entertained. But I would, honestly, at this point, I would say save your money for watch it on streaming or cable. It's not worth paying theater prices for.
So one of the disconnects I saw in there, and I guess this is a minor spoiler, is there's two different times in the movie where Mystique is calling this X-Men. I don't know if that's the right name, and I wanted to be when I read that, aren't you the one that came up with the name X-Men in this universe now?
Yeah, it's kind of like Simon Kinberg forgot about some of the other scripts he wrote. I don't know if he's had blunt force trauma to the head or something, but yeah, there's big woofs in this movie where something happens, you're like, oh, come on. And honestly, nothing happens on screen that's so spectacular that you go, okay, that was awesome to see. There's fight sequences with mutant powers. There's, big glowy stuff. It's just eh. And yeah, there's really only one good shot of the Phoenix during the whole film, and the rest of it, honestly, it's a good bookend to this version of Charles and Eric. It's actually not a good Dark Phoenix story.
So how long are they going to sit on this franchise now? If you're Kevin Feige at Marvel, how long do you let it breathe so that you
5
can...
to 7 years.
Okay, that's about what I was thinking. It was about 5
yeah.
years. This is your phase 5 as you bring
Yep.
the mutants in. If they're smart, I would love to see some hints at the Fantastic Four in phase 4, but that's neither here nor there. We got a long ways to go.
At FF, we've had a lot more downtime since the last Fant Four Stick. So with Dark Phoenix being pushed out this far, going into, we're post Endgame, and we just got another X-Men film. So in a world where we're post Snap, everything's fixed and reset, we just saw the X-Men in their own universe. So that's a little different, where most of the fans, hell, half the people that went and saw Endgame probably never even saw the Fant Four Stick movie.
Most people didn't, based off of the box office.
Yeah, most people
projections
didn't. So
of Fantastic Four, it was shit. I mean, here's the thing I don't get with Dark Phoenix. Kinberg screwed up the last Phoenix movie. Why'd he get another one and then let him direct?
Why does Bryan Singer still have a job? Who knows? It's who people know in Hollywood.
Because Hollywood protects pedophiles for some reason.
Well, yeah, that too. A lot of times, who you know beats out talent. So
That's why Roman Polanski's still an acclaimed director. I'm like, the dude diddles children.
And I mean, and Kingsbird's not a bad writer. He's written some good stories. And the only thing is he never really seems to turn in a great story. It's serviceable.
Yeah.
I didn't leave the theater angry. I didn't want my money back. It's not god awful. It's better than Fant Four Stick. And even though I love Josh Trank, this movie had a better script. At least it flowed ABC. It made sense.
So
But
here were some of the reasons that I
it's
thought.
very meh.
Some of the reasons I realized this one was in trouble is when you go and if you follow the official X-Men movie Twitter, which I don't, but a bunch of people do. We're tweeting this. It kind of turned into a meme. Is they then started retweeting on Saturday anyone who said anything positive about the X-Men movie, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, this is not how an official movie Twitter is supposed to work. You're not supposed to retweet every positive thing that any user says out there.
Well, let's be honest. Whoever's job it is to run that account, more than likely they had that job until the end of this film and the end of advertising for this film, because then that division of Fox is going to be gone. And so they're probably out of a job on Monday. So as of Saturday, they probably didn't really give a shit.
It also looked like somebody paid for a bunch of bots somewhere, because there were a bunch of football Twitter accounts that didn't have a ton of followers that all throughout the week then started tweeting about how excited they were for Dark Phoenix. And I'm like, was this Fox or is this someone playing a gag? I don't know what's going on, but I'm really entertained. But all in all, it's not a great sign for for this. Now, I'm sad to see McAvoy go. I'm sad to see Fassbender go. I think that they were the rock stars of this franchise. By all accounts, Jennifer Lawrence phoned it in this movie, from what people were saying.
And
Just this movie?
She's not in that many scenes either. Like, there's not much mystique to go around in this film. Nicholas Hoult turns in a good job. The kid who plays Nightcrawler, you get a lot more of him on screen. That's a very unique looking child. I've seen some poor things written about him online. He's got a different look, but he looks really cool as Nightcrawler. And yeah, Storm actually had a couple of good lines. But yeah, it's Fassbender and McAvoy's show again, and they both did good jobs again. So
I think it will be very interesting when the home release of this comes out, if they include the deleted scenes, to see the original ending of this movie.
that might be
the
helpful.
ending on a train. Now, this is just what I'd read from various interviews and things like that. Evidently, they completely redid the ending of this movie because Captain Marvel came out, and their endings were basically the same, is what it came down to. And I was like, huh. So I wonder what that actually was.
I'm going to guess it was not good is what it was.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know how exciting it is to go from a climactic battle in space to a battle on a train, but I'm open to seeing what happens. Like Anthony said, this is one for me that I think I'm waiting until it hits Netflix or Hulu or whatever streaming service, or HBO, because I'm sure HBO or Showtime will pick it up, something like that. Like,
Yeah.
I watched the trailers, and I'm not trying to take a shot here. It never really hooked me. I was like, oh yeah, they're doing another X-Men movie, because X-Men Apocalypse I thought was shitty. This one just never hooked me. I mean, you take Oscar Isaac, who is a great actor, and you just smother him under makeup and CGI so you can't even recognize him. Don't let him do anything.
Well, and the worst thing is you cast him as one of the best mutant villains ever, and then you don't let him be Apocalypse. You just let him be a special effects suit. It's like,
That would be like equivalent to taking Tom Hiddleston in the Thor movies and putting a bunch of CGI and heavy costuming over him and not letting him be him.
Putting him in the Destroyer suit.
There you go. That's an even better analogy. Put him in the Destroyer suit, and I'd just be like, whoa.
Yeah, this wasn't that bad. I would definitely say Dark Phoenix is a better story than Apocalypse. Like, it does play through better. And yeah, McAvoy and Fassbender still do a good job. Nicholas Hoult has a couple of great scenes in it as Beast. But yeah, there's an awful, I think people are going to call him another cultural appropriation superhero whose superpowers are just disgusting. It's just so stupid. But yeah, they threw in a couple of random mutants just because they apparently couldn't get the name characters because they'd already sold everything back to Marvel, I'm guessing, at this point. So yeah, there's just some random characters that fit into the story that nobody cares about. And honestly, when it comes down to it, throughout the entire film, I don't care about Jean, and I don't believe for a minute that this Cyclops and this Jean have a relationship, because they have exactly zero on-screen chemistry.
Well, my understanding is they just didn't really give it much room for these side characters to grow from what we saw in Apocalypse to now. That you're just expected to realize a bunch of shit happened in between the years, and the X-Men are a legitimate thing, and these people all get along now and are like a family. So
yeah,
it's almost like they needed. It's almost like, gee, who would have said this? You can't do the Phoenix Saga in one movie.
Yeah, which is what they tried to do.
I guarantee you
How
this.
many times now?
Twice. If and
Twice
when
in film.
If and when the MCU deals with the X-Men and it comes to the Phoenix Saga, it's not going to be in one movie. They're going to plant seeds across multiple movies. Hell, the X-Men cartoon from the 90s took, 12 episodes to do the Phoenix Saga or something like that?
Yeah, and they brought in the Shi'ar like you're supposed to and had a fight on the goddamn moon. Yeah, if the MCU does it, if Kevin Feige does it, we'll get introduced to the Shi'ar. We'll get the Imperial Guard. We'll get fucking Gladiator. The purple dude with a mohawk who can beat your ass if he believes he can beat your ass. One of the coolest superpowers ever.
My
and
only
we'll get a fight on the moon.
My only knowing of the Gladiator is from the "I'm the Juggernaut Bitch" cartoon.
Mm. Well, that's dumb. Some of the comics that have had
It's
Gladiator in
hilarious.
it are fantastic because he's basically he's basically Superman, but based on his own self-belief, which is a crazy superpower.
Yeah.
If he thinks he can whoop your ass, he can whoop your ass. And it doesn't matter who you are. This is a guy who can literally punch the Juggernaut and stop him from moving if he believes that he can. Like,
But
it's
I'm
such
a
a
Juggernaut.
crazy fucking power.
I
Because
think
yeah, if you put doubt in Gladiator's head, you can whoop his ass.
I think Bill summed it up best in the chat room, saying, "I was hoping it would be good, but glad that it's in Marvel's hands now." And I wonder how many
Yeah.
other fans just kind of sat there and went, "Why does this movie matter? Marvel just bought, or this just all got bought back by Disney, so it's a one-off movie, and whatever they do isn't going to matter because it's just going to get rebooted."
The only thing I was hoping for is that they might address something about like the end of the universe in it. But yeah, they basically I think they did the smart thing. It addresses nothing. It only affects the X-Men. There's no implications to the outer world. They did the story they had, and then they shut it down. And you know where the X-Men stand at the end of this story, and that's it. They basically ignored everything else. Yeah,
Was
they're
this
definitely no. It jumps to the 80s.
I thought it was in
So-
'94.
80s was the last movie,
80s was
Apocalypse.
the last movie.
So it's still in the 80s?
I thought it. I want to say it said like 1988 or something at the start. Oh wait, maybe when it said 1984, that was the scene with young Gene.
That's
then-
that's Young Gene.
Yeah, this would be like 10
Alright.
years later, so it'd be like 1994. I guess would have been like the setting for the movie.
First Class was 60s.
Yeah, 'cause it is 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking. Yeah, the first scene is when it said 1984. That's when young Gene's in the car with her parents when she's like a little girl.
I can't help
Yeah,
but think
That makes sense.
I can't help but think this rebooting of X-Men would have been better if Matthew Vaughn had kept being behind the helm versus
you
going back to
goddamn-
Singer. But
Yeah.
here's the trade-off.
Oh,
By
it's in my
Matthew
mouth.
Vaughn leaving, we got the Kingsman movies. And I'm totally on board with the Kingsman movies.
No. Kingsman 2. Kingsman 1 was already made.
Okay, you're
no.
right. You're right.
No, wait. Yeah, wait.
Wait, no, I don't know if it was.
No, that's right. He left. He didn't do Kick-Ass 2 to do First Class. That's right. And then he went, Kingsman, then Kingsman 2. You're right. I got my Kick-Ass and my Kingsman mixed up. Which I was at first I was definitely disappointed by both sequels. But I grew to love the Golden Circle.
Golden Circle grows on you. After you got to just remember
Kick-Ass
it
2.
can't be quite the same as the original Kingsman movie. And then you're like, "Oh, okay, I like this."
I just wish they didn't focus so much on like Harry's like rebooting of his mind. They took way too long. with
I
that.
wish they'd never spoiled the fact he was alive in the trailers.
Yeah,
know what?
that should have been
I'm there with you.
saved.
But you know what? They're not in charge of that. It's a whole nother company
That's
that makes
true.
trailers.
I also enjoyed the fact that Mark Strong is singing "Country Roads" at the end. As someone who lives in West Virginia, is an alum of West Virginia University, "Country Roads" holds a very soft spot in my heart.
The John Denver estate is fucking. I want to know how much money they paid out for that year alone, because they paid out money to put that song out in 3 different movies, and in all 3 movies, it was like a plot point.
Yeah, they're getting paid.
No. They paid to put those in the movies, so I guess to reinvigorize it. I guess.
I don't know. I think, regardless, Matthew Vaughn left. We got the Kingsman movies. I'm okay with that trade-off because all the stuff he was going to do was just going to get rebooted with the acquisition eventually, anyways. So we got
I'm
Kingsman,
okay.
which stands on its own.
Well, I mean, who cares if it's going to get changed later anyway? It's just because you still get good movies
Okay,
now.
That's fair. The better trade-off is we got Kingsman.
Oh yeah,
I would
I'm not
rather
gonna-
have
I'm not gonna argue
I would
that
rather
point.
have Kingsman than more Matthew Vaughn X-Men movies.
I don't know. First Class was so good.
First Class was really good, and
Why
like
can't I have
Bill said,
both? Why do I have to choose? I'm a greedy bitch.
well, we can have them all. But like Bill said in the chat room, they built a lot of goodwill with First Class and moved forward on that. Days of Future Past, I thought was a good movie, but not as good as some people seem to think it is. I enjoyed
Well,
it
also,
a lot.
Days of Future Past, they took the movie that focused on Shadowcat and they took that story and gave it to Wolverine. Like,
Well, if you're looking at how to make a movie though to make the most cash possible, it's generally you take Hugh Jackman and put him in it in the X-Men movies. Let's be honest, and I'm not saying this disparagingly, more people care about Wolverine than they do Shadowcat.
Yeah, but they also took a female-led story and handed it off to their most famous male character, which after Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, we've seen if you actually got a female-led superhero movie, maybe more people would care. Maybe more people then would have shown up later on to watch Dark Phoenix.
I don't
They're
know.
like, oh, no,
I think if
we're
you've
gonna
got
take
Hugh
this-
Jackman and he wants to do your movie,
Well,
you do
I mean,
Hugh
yeah.
Jackman. Don't get me wrong. Pretty much any other case, I'd probably be on board with you. But it's Hugh Jackman who's like, yeah, I want to do more as Wolverine. And you know you've got a limited clock left on that. And that clock has now sadly run out because I still want Deadpool and Wolverine on screen together. It ain't going to happen. We get funny YouTube skits between the two of them, but that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
I
take
think
it.
at best we won't get anything better than an Old Man Logan cameo in the MCU.
I'll take it. If we can get Hugh Jackman, and you know, at one point in time, he'd said in an interview, the only way he'd come back to do the role is if he could hang out with the Avengers. Well, theoretically, that could happen now. But if I'm Hugh Jackman, he's what, 49, 50 years old? How much
Yes.
work does it take to get that jacked? And let's be honest, every movie, he gets more jacked than he was in the previous
Yep.
movie. I
he
cannot
said-
imagine the level of work and effort that goes into that training.
Well, and he
How
said
do you-
every time it takes more training.
Yep.
How do you get that huge jacked, man?
Yep.
Oh. Well, you know,
That huge jacked man.
for what was it, Logan, he got a training plan from The Rock on how to get that jacked, which always just makes me laugh.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Mr.
makes
Black
sense.
Adam himself. Is he still Black Adam?
He
Yep.
is still signed on to be Black Adam.
And his production company is producing the movie with Warner
And
Brothers.
he's been
So
replaced in Fast and Furious 9 by all accounts, but that's neither here nor there.
I think it is here and now. What?
Yeah, you saw that
No, I didn't.
supposedly he and Vin Diesel don't get along on set, which was one of the problems with the last Fast
Yeah.
and Furious. Like they didn't film scenes together, things like that. So they announced, what was it, like Wednesday or Thursday this week, that they have cast John Cena, if you can actually see him, to be in Fast and Furious 9. I can't see him.
yeah, he's
Well,
going to be invisible.
He's
People
gonna be
can't see him.
invisible. So
I
John
guess I'll
Cena is
check
going to be in Fast and
rewatch.
Furious 9, and they basically dropped as part of that press release that Dwayne The Rock Johnson's not expected to be in it.
How to make me not care about a movie franchise instantly?
Well, I
Put
think
John
I
Cena-
think the argument is with Hobbs and Shaw coming out, they want to spin that off into its own thing. And you know, I think I would rather see Jason Statham and The Rock hang out and kick ass than I would all of the Fast and Furious movies at this point, because I think that's going to be a bit more fun.
I've
It
only
does,
seen
it does look fun.
one John Cena movie, and I was so disappointed in it. It made me hate the guy.
Which one, the Marine or 12
The
rounds?
Marine.
Mm.
I saw it in theaters. I was like, "Wow, if this was made in the '80s, this would be a great movie."
Oh, it
It's
was a
not
straight up.
made in
It was a straight up 80s action flick.
the 80s.
I,
And but
I think that script might have been from
Wait, wait.
1982.
and it didn't even play with the fact that they were trying to be an '80s movie, an '80s action flick. It's like, what are you doing here?
What's
you
crazy is
all-
they've
got
now done
every
3 of
humor.
those movies. They did one with Ted DiBiase Jr. and another one with Mike Mizanin. They've done 3
Who?
Marines.
Who's it
The
last?
Miz.
Oh,
Mike Mizan is his real name. The Miz.
I don't watch wrestling anymore.
Well,
I'm not
I
saying
am
it's
back
bad.
on that bullshit, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show.
That's a whole lot of bullshit. But guess what else I did in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks? I
Well,
guess.
should we save some of this for what I'm into, or
Yeah, I'm not guessing.
What I've
I
already
refuse.
gotten- No, it's just my friend had a housewarming party and some. She had a crawfish whole dinner. She
Oh,
cooked a
man,
lot of
you had a crawdad cook off.
bugs. A whole lot of mud bugs.
Would
Well,
you
no.
guys do it with the red potatoes and the andouille sausage and stuff like that too?
She had so many veggies in there. No, none of the sausage. Like she did outside in like a big old pot and just dumped it on the table.
That's the way to do it, man. You just put a little paper on the table and dump it out.
I mean, I couldn't partake in the mud bugs eating myself, but I did get some of the veggies before they were cooked.
Do you have a allergy or something to?
Gout.
Oh, okay,
That's one of the
gotcha.
3 things: alcohol, red meat, and shellfish.
I didn't realize that shellfish was part of that, so that sucks.
And plus, I also tried it 2 years ago. I didn't really like shellfish all that much.
It's
I
a
didn't
lot
really
of
like-
work for the meat that's in it, but it's pretty good.
I didn't really like it all
Yeah.
that much.
I like a
Not-
crawdad though.
You know, my dad always said it was better than a crawfish dinner.
Are you going?
crawfish did.
Are you turning into the crawdad man from the league?
No, I'm turning into the water boy. What's
Oh,
his name?
yeah,
Coach,
yeah,
yeah.
not Coach Klein, the other coach, the asshole coach.
Yeah, I know who you mean. Sorry, I
Ah,
went.
crawfish dinner.
I went to the league first, but we have eaten up 24 minutes just bullshitting. So I guess we should, get back in line on things and start.
Ramblecast Part 2.
I think so. Here's the news of the week.
Oh.
Live from the ATGN studios on the internet, it's the news of the week.
That's right, we're back with the news of the week. It's that part of the show where we run down what's in our minds some of the most interesting geeky and or nerdy news to have popped up in the past, we'll say few weeks because we've been away for a bit. So we're going to share some more geeky stuff versus just bitching about movies and things like that. Willie, do you want to kick us off this week?
Sure, I'll kick you off with a headline.
That's all he's got is the headline, by the way, guys.
That's all he read was the headline.
That's all he read.
I mean, I read a little bit more, but it's all the shit in here is just the headline. That's all you need to know because they don't really have all the information, it looks like. But brothers in arms, come with me. We have Sony, we have Microsoft shaking hands for once against the tyrants of Amazon and Google. Excuse me, I have to cough this out. That tore my throat out a little bit.
Well, Willie's dying. This is a press release that came out, I want to say about a week and a half ago, that featured Satya Nadella from Microsoft, and I cannot remember who it was from Sony, but the photo has them shaking hands in this press release because they're getting along. Back to you, Willie.
Yeah, so they're getting together to fight, to come up with a good old streaming service for their consoles. It seems like, because Google Stadia is coming out, and does Google Stadia look like a good idea to anybody?
Google Stadia is interesting, and I don't think we can make a determination yet as to whether it's a good idea or not. And why do I say that? Because Microsoft's been working on Project xCloud for years, and one of the rumors is it's about to get announced this afternoon as we record this episode. Sony's been working on other things, so there's lots of folks that are dabbling in cloud gaming. And while Google has an interesting setup and the demo was really interesting, if Microsoft says, hey, Project xCloud, you subscribe to this and you're tied into our Game Pass, so basically, yes, you can buy games, but if you're subscribed to Game Pass, you have access to hundreds of games you can play on day one on any device. It's a big competitive advantage. Stadia, you've got what? If you pre-order now, you get Destiny 2 and a DLC, all the DLC for Destiny 2, and access to cheaper games a la Steam sale kind of thing.
Hold on. Time out. You get Destiny 2 for free?
If you subscribe on their Founders Edition stuff right now, on which the bundle is $129, it gives you a Chromecast Ultra, a controller, 3 months of Stadia Pro, and then that includes Destiny 2, all the DLC, and something else I can't remember.
Here's the problem with that.
Destiny 2 is 3 years old.
No, Destiny 2 is about to go free to play.
That's exactly why it's interesting there, because however, all the DLC still costs money. So I think that's what the spin is you have Destiny 2 as a free to play thing, but all the DLC that would normally cost you, say, $20 a pack or something like that.
I mean, sure, it's much later in the year, but still.
Don't already have Destiny 2 free because I got it on PS Plus?
No, I mean, it's going to be free.
It's turning into a literal free-to-play game now.
I'm saying I already got it for free, so they're not offering me anything I don't already have.
So, Willie, I think in part this news of Microsoft teaming up with Sony to do cloud things together, which is all they've really said. There was no more detail to say what that is. I think it's in part to kind of get out there a little bit before Google Stadia stuff did, because we had the Stadia announcement, 3 months back. We all went, well, that's going to be interesting. They said, before E3, we'll tell you more. And they had that press conference last week, or this week rather. There's not a ton of games there yet. Now, they did confirm things like the new Avengers game from Square is going to be on there. Well, that leaked out of E3 rather, things like that. But think of it like Steam, where you don't have to have your own PC. That seems to be what they're going for right now, is they have a digital library in which you can buy games. And if you are a pro subscriber, whatever, that costs $10 a month, you get some free games from time to time and discounted games, a la the discounts you see with like PlayStation Network and Xbox Live.
And so like console Steam.
Similar, but they're PC games is what it seems to be. And if you have a robust enough internet connection, I think it was 35 megabits per second, then you would be able to stream 4K HDR, for instance.
Yeah, I don't have that.
No, you do not. You would not be a prime candidate for Stadia, Willie.
Nope, I
No.
don't know, buddy.
I mean, and their use case is intriguing because it's eventually any internet connected device that you can put a Chrome browser on, you'll be able to play games through it. So at launch, it'll be, if you have a Chromecast on your TV, you'll be able to basically throw your game on the TV and play it that way. It streams. You could play it on your Chromebook. Just hook a controller into it and play it that way. Or you buy their controller that connects via Wi-Fi back to their servers. So literally, you just take your controller wherever you are, and it's always connected to their servers, and you just fling the game onto whatever device is there. It's even going to be on like cell phones and stuff. They said the Pixel 3s and the 3As are their launch ones, but theoretically, you could be sitting in your house and play a game on your phone, but because all the processing is done in the cloud, you're pretty much effectively streaming a video to your phone. So the phone's not doing any of the rendering, things like that. It's an interesting concept, and it gets you away from that model of you have to have cutting edge hardware in your house to be able to play games. Is this new? No, because the rumors have already been out there that Microsoft and Sony are exploring the exact same thing. There's the Xbox Scarlet console that the rumor is will be announced this afternoon, which is basically a streaming box for Xbox games, is what all the leaks have said so far. Whether that's actually the case or not, we're not going to find out for about 4.5 hours as we record this right now. But it's an interesting model. But here's the problem. If you have a shitty internet connection, none of this stuff works for you. It works great if you live in a city with great internet, or if you live out somewhere where you've got a robust ISP. But if your network is only going to give you, say, 15 megabits per second down, you'll get about 1080p if you're lucky.
And yeah, they're gonna see that these systems only sell in certain parts of the country just due to infrastructure.
Yeah, and I agree with Steven. The big hole in this too is also everyone's going to assume it's their ISP that's slowing them down. It could also just be their shitty Wi-Fi in their house that's not giving them a good signal too.
That's why my PS4 is hardwired into my modem.
PS4s are just effing slow. Willie can attest to that. Try and download a game on a PS4, it takes friggin' forever, regardless of your internet connection.
Well, you see, I've grown accustomed to it, so I just start to download one night, and I'm there the next day.
Yeah.
No, Willie's
you're
on
not
Hillbilly
wrong.
Wi-Fi, or Hillbilly dial-up.
But
You out downloading games with your friends the other day.
going back to Willie's news, though, the fact that Microsoft and Sony are willing to work together, pretty much it sounded like from that release, by using server farms and things like that Microsoft owns, it's super intriguing, especially for things like shooters, like online cooperative shooters and things like that. It's interesting. And there are things that are opening up now, and they're starting to play nice with others. Remember, you couldn't play Rocket League with someone playing on a PlayStation if you were on an Xbox, things like that, Minecraft, stuff like that. They did announce at the Google Stadia event, actually, that you'll be able to exchange save games on Destiny across all platforms. So you could play on a PC one day, you could play on Stadia the next day, you could play on your PlayStation 4 the next day, and you'll be able to get to your characters and play that way. So they're starting to play nicer. The question is, this collaboration between Sony and Microsoft, does it make it more likely that these games that come out across multiple consoles, you'll now have true online crossplay between these things? I hope so.
Yeah, it would be good for games like, Apex Legends and Fortnite, and now Dead by Daylight is part of the Xbox Game Pass, whatever.
I saw
So
that.
everybody on Xbox just got Dead by Daylight for free. So there's been a huge uptick in people playing Dead by Daylight, but they're only playing with other Xbox players.
And I did sign up for Game Pass today because it was $1 for me to add it for like 14 months. So I can try Dead by Daylight now, because since it's on Game Pass. So it's interesting. Now, how many years is it going to take to see this collaborative agreement come to fruition, or is it actually anything more than just lip service? I don't know. We've just got to wait and see.
Yeah.
Willie, as our PlayStation expert, what is your takeaway from this alliance forged between Microsoft and Sony against the dreaded Google?
It seems, well, I don't. It all depends upon how well Stadia is going to be received. It's all dependent upon that, like whether it's going to be necessary or not. I mean, I would love for them to collaborate, but I also understand that there needs to be, not, they don't need to join together at all. Like, I mean, like for console wise, like they don't need to make it, because competition just makes everyone win, the consumer win. So It's all dependent upon Stadia and how well it does.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said of what's going to happen with Stadia. For $129 basically to get in, it's not terrible, but also we're at the end of a console generation right now where these console prices are dropping. So $129, you pay $70 more, you can get a PS4 or an Xbox. So the question is, if I'm a gamer, do I want a device of my own or do I want all my stuff to reside in the cloud? Now, they did say on Stadia they are going to have a free tier of it where you can buy games on Stadia, and instead of having to pay the $10 a month, you are capped at 1080p for your video gaming experiences and stuff like that. But you still do all of the rendering, all the processing, and work like that in the Google farms. That, however, is not launching until next year. All that is launching this year in November is the Founders Edition, where it's $10 a month to play games on Stadia. So I was on the fence about it, and I've kind of decided that when they put out the free tier next year, I'll give it a try in a couple games and see what I think of it. But right now, my wait and see, like I mentioned earlier, is more I want to see what Microsoft announces for Project xCloud.
You know what's really revving up my Jimmy though? Is if you think about it, this is the first step to just doing away with consoles.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just in general.
Which, and honestly, it does address one of the hardware problems as well. If someone right now wants to buy a new system, if they're looking at either Stadium, an Xbox One, or a PS4 Pro, Stadia is not going to play your Blu-rays for you.
Nobody cares about that anymore, though.
They're still selling them. They're
Oh,
still.
let's be honest. There's a reason, though, why folks like Samsung and stuff like we're going to stop making Blu-ray players, because that's not where the market is anymore. Most people.
Well, yeah. But they don't need to because we play them all in our gaming systems.
Yeah, that's whatever. That doesn't matter. That's how the market is shifting, is what I'm meaning. Sorry, Willie, I talked over you.
That's all good. That's just the reason why I have a PS3 is because Blu-rays. That's why I got it. Look at all my Blu-ray collection over there. You can't see, but I can. It's so beautiful. I'm looking at you. Oh, it's a Sibby down there. I'm telling
and
you.
because Willie can't stream anything.
Oh, yeah,
right.
there's that too.
Shit, you pull your head out your ass over there.
How long's it got a buffer?
None. No, I'm actually amazed that I don't have to no buffering. I can play games online, no issue.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so I'm being overly glib here, but there is a difference between people who watch things on the physical media and what you stream. You do have more compression on things you stream, but convenience always trumps fidelity. It's a lot easier for me to push a button on my box and start a movie than it's like, where the hell did my disc go on this? Fish out a disc, put it in the machine, have it spin up, go through the previews, finally get to the menu and start it. Now, first world problem, obviously, but convenience trumps fidelity. I'd rather have the slight decrease in quality just to be like, boop, it's playing.
Yeah, see, I'm good with games streaming and having, downloading a digital version of games on my PS4, but I still want my Blu-rays for all the special edition, all the special features stuff. As even when they add those in as part of the digital file, it's never the same. You can't find Easter eggs on a digital version of a Blu-ray movie.
They're exactly the same. Have you watched any extra features on Vudu? It's literally just a video that's under you open the disc or whatever, the movie, and there's a separate menu that's special features, and it's exactly like what's on the Blu-ray.
I still like the Blu-rays.
I do agree with Steven. The part of what's running out too is the Blu-ray data capacity is 25 gigs on a single layer, 50 gigs on a dual layer. You can get SD cards to hold more and stuff like that right now. We're moving away from disc-based stuff anymore because it's a lot simpler just to go to a cartridge. Hell, Nintendo did it with the Switch. That's more just because it's Nintendo though than anything else probably. I'll retract that line because I realized that was dumb. That was dumb. What do you got for us, Anthony?
We got bad and we got good. So these are both news coming out of the DC Vertigo universe. And the bad news is I got a Forbes article by Paul Tassi. Why on earth was DC Universe's Swamp Thing canceled after one episode? Because no one can shoot themselves in the foot like DC can. They are the best at it. So after just airing the pilot, it was announced that DC's new Swamp Thing on the DC Universe, produced by James Wan, has been canceled. It had already been cut down from 13 episodes down to 10. They said they were causing everyone to scramble to come up with a sort of cohesive ending. So apparently they had a problem wrapping up the storyline they were doing. In the Forbes article, it says there was a sort of dust up that had to do with the show shooting in North Carolina, where WB was promised more money than they got from the state due to some sort of error, but further reporting seems to say that they'll get the money they're owed anyway, and that this cancellation has nothing to do with the North Carolina situation. So apparently they had a problem where they were shooting. It may have been addressed, it may not, but the big problem seems to be that AT&T has acquired Time Warner and Warner Media, and so now they're going to do their own streaming service, because of course every fucking company now needs their own streaming service, so that we have 13 of them. And so now they're already looking at possibly shutting down completely the DC Universe app, which is a really sad thing because it does have some unique shows, and it's the only app of its kind. None of the other apps offer you the things that the DC Universe app offers. It has original shows. It has the old DC back library of cartoons and movies. It has a shop that's only accessible through that app that gives you limited edition DC like apparel and comics and stuff. And then it has access to DC Comics, which the fact that, Disney hasn't figured out a way to do a Disney app that includes the Marvel Comixology app as part of it is just dumb, because they're losing money from the comic book fans that, we've seen plenty of people that will just toss money at things.
Because Amazon owns Comixology.
Yeah, but Marvel has their own version of it. They have the Marvel Comixology app that's just access to Marvel Comics. They could do that as part of one of their packages. And it's weird that they're not doing it. And now it looks like DC is taking their first step towards canceling it. So in a way, it's kind of just like the Netflix shows of Marvel coming off of Netflix because Disney's going to do their own streaming service. So that all the Netflix shows died. The sad thing is that the Netflix shows for the Marvel superheroes got 3 or 4 seasons. We're still going to get the last 3rd season of Jessica Jones. We got 2 seasons of Punisher. We got multiple seasons of Daredevil. And, that was a whole lot of great TV. Sadly, shows like Swamp Thing are now being canceled basically before the audience even gets a chance to fucking see them. So, yeah, once again, DC is, better at shooting themselves in the foot than anybody else. And so it's sad because now we're looking at, odds are we're going to hear soon that Titans and Doom Patrol are probably going to be canceled as well. Because if they're already pulling one show off that app, and it's that app, they don't owe anybody money, like it's DC's own thing. And if they're not continuing with their own shows, apparently everything's eventually going to go to the AT&T app.
I heard it was more because Swamp Thing was so GD expensive to make that they realized it wasn't sustainable to do more of it. That was what I had read.
Well, there's nothing in the Forbes article that mentions the price being prohibitive. So you would think the Forbes writer would have found something about that, but
they
there's nothing there.
They crowdfund their writing, basically. Just because you write for Forbes doesn't mean you work for Forbes.
That's true. But yeah, so Swamp Thing's already going away. But on the good news side of the DC Vertigo universe, the devil is back. And small spoilers, at the end of season 4, so cover your ears if you don't want to know for 10 seconds, at the end of season 4, Lucifer, to save the world, even though Chloe loves him and he loves Chloe, Lucifer has to go back to hell. So the season ended with Lucifer sitting on his throne in hell. And they announced Lucifer is returning to Netflix for season 5, and it will be the final season. So the upside is the writers are going in knowing it's the last season, that they're wrapping it up. This will be the end of the show. So they know that before they even start production, which is the best possible circumstance for a show that's not knowing whether or not they're going to continue. If you go in knowing that you're wrapping up the whole series, you can't have a better foothold on getting a good start on where the story is going and how you're going to end it. And it was just awesome to see Tom Ellis did this fantastic little video where he's in a parking lot of some lot somewhere, jumping up and down, going, yes, 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 yes. And he stopped and goes, I'll see you in hell. And so, yeah, Lucifer's coming back. The devil's in hell. And we got to see how he's going to get out so he can go find his girlfriend. And I'm so fucking excited. They did such a good job of that show on Netflix. If you haven't seen season 4 yet, they really stuck to their guns on not going overboard on the violence. They didn't really push the language barrier. That show that aired on Netflix could have aired on Fox. They kept it the same tone. They kept it the same level of partial gratuity. The only real excess gratuity you got was a whole lot of Tom Ellis butt. There was a whole lot of devil butt in the show, which was really funny because every time they did it, they made it hilarious. So there was a little bit of extra nudity, but that's really it. They kept the show in tone with what was airing on primetime TV, so that the fans of that show on primetime TV could watch it on Netflix, and it wasn't all of a sudden a gore fest. And so, yeah, it's just all the actors are back again. I don't know if they've all been confirmed, but all the stars have gone on their social media and said thank you to the fans again. They're so happy to come back and wrap the show up. And so it looks like every actor has been a part of it will be back. Lauren German, Kevin Alejandro, D.B. Woodside, Leslie Ann Brandt, Scarlett Estevez, Rachel Harris, and of course the devil himself, Tom Ellis. So I'm getting more Lucifer on Netflix, and they're gonna wrap the show up, and I'm fucking excited.
Isn't Rachel
That show
Harris
is
his
so much
wife
fun.
in real life?
No, Rachel Harris is the detective or the psychologist.
No, the actor and the actress, aren't they married in real life?
No, I've seen pictures of his wife. It's a different lady. Yeah, because the devil, he just got married a little bit ago. I can't remember her name though. It is
I don't remember.
Megan Oppenheimer.
Okay.
That's his new wife. Yeah, she's a brunette or somewhat brunette hair, long, real pretty.
Okay.
But yeah. No, Rachel Harris is the actress that plays the psychologist
I'm
that just
thinking
had a
something
baby.
different then.
that just had a half angel baby on the show with D.B. Woodside.
Interesting. I might eventually get to it now that it's all on Netflix.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Once season 5 is done, you're gonna have the whole thing on Netflix. And it's for those that haven't seen it, they took the concept of the devil's bored with sitting down in hell, so he goes up to L.A. and opens a nightclub, and then proceeds to start offering people favors, and they owe him a favor in return. And so it's literally the favor swapping devil helping people out and then getting what he wants out of every situation. Well, because he's the devil. And then while he's running his nightclub, he gets bored and ends up running into a detective he's attracted to, and he decides to start helping her with her cases. So to keep himself entertained, he starts solving murders. And so you get a police procedural with the devil who's taking place in it just because he's bored. And Tom Ellis is fucking fantastic. He's so good as Lucifer. And then they introduce, heaven, hell, demons, angels, all sorts of supernatural creatures. Like, it's not a full-on supernatural show. Like, they keep it really grounded, like they're normal human murders in almost every show. But it's a fantastically fun show to watch. Like, it's always entertaining. And honestly, seeing Tom Welling showed up, and I think it was season 3. Seeing adult Tom Welling, since like the last time I saw him in was Smallville, seeing him show up as a character for a whole season or maybe just season and a half was fantastic. He was really good on the show as well. It's a really fun show. I'm so glad that they get to come back and do another season. I'm glad Netflix seems to be treating them right, and they're all having fun over there.
Just want to make sure I'm back, right?
You are back.
Yep.
I know it was funny that we were talking about bad internet speeds and my thing just closes out on me. I will say it wasn't my internet. Apparently, Google signed me out for some reason.
Too much
That was
porn.
weird because you went away and came back like 4 times.
I don't use this computer for porn.
I know you use
porn
your
for that.
PlayStation, and then you've always get the PSVR.
Actually, I got my phone for that. Actually,
Okay. Note to self.
wait, I don't use the PlayStation VR for porn. You know how convoluted it is to
Never-
actually get that to work?
Note to self: don't touch Willie's phone next time I see him in person.
I
you
am a.
kidding? I
Oh,
would never touch anything in Willie's house. It's all
What are you
dirty.
talking about? My phone's always in the other hand.
That doesn't make it less dirty.
That's fair.
Gross. Gross.
But I mean, it's so convoluted. I'm a lazy masturbator.
TMI.
Not enough
Well,
TMI.
Thank you for sharing that news with us, Anthony. I'm going to try and move on in an effort to forget all about Willie's masturbation stories here.
Well, I just gave you a good episode title: "Lazy
luck.
Masturbators."
Good luck.
So next story here, there was also an event. We're coming up on E3. There's gonna be all sorts of video game news coming up. And of course, somehow I find video game news before E3. Why is that the case? Because it was either Wednesday or Thursday. Nintendo had a Pokemon Direct event where they started announcing and gave some more details on Pokemon Sword and Shield. For those that aren't familiar, Pokemon Sword and Shield is the next game by Game Freak that will be coming out, and not for the Nintendo DS, but for the Nintendo Switch. The Pokemon franchise has moved on. You'll be playing on the new mobile gaming system that Nintendo has, and by all accounts, it looks pretty awesome. So what did we find out about Pokemon Sword and Shield? The release date is officially set for November 15th this year, so thank you, Nintendo, for giving me such a good birthday gift. I get Pokemon that day when I come home from work, and that is all I'm going to do. The
Nice.
problem is Star Wars Fallen Jedi comes out that same day too, so I don't know which game I'm going to play Pokemon. Let's be honest. I'm gonna play Pokemon.
That was quick.
I already knew it. So what's some of the other stuff we found out? There are new legendaries that were announced. They're a bit on the nose. For Sword, your Pokemon is a giant wolf that's holding a sword in his mouth. And for Shield, your legendary Pokemon has like a crest that looks like a shield built off of his chest. It looks really badass, actually.
It's a shield mane.
A shield mane. Yes, that is not a... That's probably the best way of putting it.
I only speak truth here, buddies.
Pokemon
Sure.
Sword and Board, huh?
We also got to see a bit more of the Galar region, which is supposedly modeled a little bit after Britain in the UK. Not quite sure how that is the case because I haven't had a chance to play it. You got to meet the new professor, your new rival, and we got to see some of the new Pokemon gyms and stadiums. They all looked pretty cool. They revealed some new Gen 8 Pokemon that we'll be able to catch in addition to the starters, and showed a couple of the evolutions. One is this giant black like eagle that looks really cool, and I cannot remember its name. But here's where things get interesting. Here's some new additions to the gameplay. Let's start with the one that I'm not as cool with, not as interested in compared to the one that I'm super interested in. They added a new battle element called Dynamax. This is an option you can activate once per battle to grow your Pokemon to incredible size, basically allowing them to use more powerful versions of their abilities. You know how in Power Rangers, Reed would be like, make my monster grow?
I was gonna say
This
it's Power
is
Rangers.
what you get to do with a Pokemon once in a battle, but I think it only lasts for like it was either
3
one
turns.
or 3 turns.
Three turns. That's what I heard.
3 turns.
the
You can only
question
use the special ability once during those 3 turns.
Does your character have to say in the readable pulsive voice, "Make my monster grow"?
I don't think so, but they do throw what looks like a giant friggin' Pokeball at them that causes them to grow. So
That's awesome.
it's pretty cool looking.
They've been reading my diary.
They have
Those are
been
gonna be
reading
some
that.
memes. Those are gonna be some memes.
And then they have also introduced, this is the thing I am most interested in, is raid battles.
There's what I
Yeah. So if you've been playing Pokemon Go, you're familiar with raid battles in there. Or you can have a group of up to 20 Pokemon Go players join up and try and take down a gym that has a legendary event or something like that. And in the end, try and catch that Pokemon. This is very similar to what we're getting in the game. In the game, 4 trainers are pitted against a single enemy that will be Dynamaxed for the entire fight, meaning it is giant-sized. If you guys are able to defeat it, you have a chance to catch it. Your fellow trainers can be actual players, but if you don't have a group of 4, the AI will fill in as needed. Now, there are a couple catches. In raid battles, a Dynamax can only be used by the 4 players once, and not once per person, once per raid party. So if you're playing in a group and someone hits their Dynamax button right away, that is the only Dynamax option you get in that. They have basically set it up so that that happens then. So be careful of strategy and thinking of weaknesses, because you don't want to fight, say, a grass one and be using, or you don't want to be a water Pokemon fight. Oh crap, I lost my train of thought. You want to make sure your powers match up accordingly so that you're not Dynamaxing the wrong Pokemon. Now, I have a feeling there's going to be idiots online. The first thing they're going to do is, if they're in a fight, I'm going to Dynamax because I need to get it in first. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. Now, where this also gets interesting is they said you'll be able to play in local groups, meaning if you had a group of folks that were playing together, you can use the Switch's Wi-Fi to basically hook everyone into a single party and play against a raid boss. The other thing is, supposedly you'll be able to play online with some of your friends. So if you're subscribed to Switch Online, you would theoretically, in my case, Willie and I could decide we wanted to do a Dynamax raid, and we would theoretically, based off my understanding of what came out of Pokemon Direct, across the internet be able to party up together and do a Dynamax raid. I think this is really cool. I am someone who still plays Pokemon Go quite a lot, and some of the
I'm going to stop you right there, Chris.
Go ahead.
You're
Will.
assuming Nintendo is going to do the correct thing.
What is the correct thing?
What you just said. You're assuming they're going to do the correct thing, as opposed to what they normally do when they fuck it up.
So I couldn't tell from what I was reading whether it was officially announced or not you would be able to party up across the internet. I'm leaning towards it seems like that is the way it goes from the multiple articles I've read. I think we're going to have to wait until we get a little closer to Sword and Shield's release date to know that for sure. But raiding in Pokemon Go is a lot of fun when we meet up as a group and do things. I think it could be a lot of fun in Pokemon Sword and Shield to meet up with a group of your friends and be like, hey, let's do this raid. And I think it could be really neat. I'm also hoping they also do something similar to what we saw in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where you could transfer Pokemon between the games and Pokemon Go and vice versa. I think that would be really cool because I have some stuff in Pokemon Go that I should send to the Candy
Yeah.
Shredder, but I haven't because I might be able to move them over into Sword and Shield. Not 100% sure.
Now, what I want to know is this going to be the full Pokedex? Because unlike, was it Sun and Moon, which was not the full Pokedex?
My
I was a little
understanding
disappointed in
was
that.
full Pokedex.
Ooh, ooh, ooh,
That's a
ooh,
lot
ooh.
of Pokemon.
That is a
That
lot.
that Simichub went to a half chub instantly.
I'm glad
and
you
under-
mentioned the Pokédex because they have said rather than a standard Pokédex, you now get what is called a Rotom phone. This is not only
Well,
used to track your
Just like the
collection,
Sun and Moon.
but also fulfills other functions, including serving as a replacement for HMs from past games.
I'm sorry, what?
HMs. I think they meant TMs, but I'm not sure.
Oh, HMs. I thought you said gems.
No, sorry, HMs.
I was like the Pokemon gems? What are we talking about here? I got you.
I want to look at the pictures after Chris mentioned the large black bird. The Corviknight
That's
is a
it.
raven Pokemon.
It looks awesome.
165.3 pounds, flying steel type bird, is a massive 7'3" tall. So they're giant Pokemon, but the artwork on it's fantastic because it looks like part of its skin is turned into armor. Like it's a bird that's half armored. Like it's fucking cool looking.
I will say, what the hell was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the Rotom phone. That was in Sun and Moon.
Was
I
it? Okay,
believe.
I haven't played Sun and Moon yet.
Well, that's your problem.
I don't have a Switch. How
I
Switch
played
a
Ultra
DS.
Sun. That was my go-to, Ultra Sun.
So
That's the reason I got 3DS.
one last thing on here, random encounters. So last year in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they kind of did away with random encounters in favor of a system where you could see Pokemon roaming wild and you could go walk up to them and catch them. Roaming encounters had been expected to return in Sword and Shield. However, based off the Pokemon Direct, it seems like they're using the same mechanic from Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, where you can see Pokemon roaming around on the map and you just basically walk into them to initiate a battle to try and catch them or not. Now, we will probably get something more official as to whether that is the only case going forward. But right now, Sword and Shield looks pretty awesome. The artwork looks awesome. It's a whole new world. There's a ton of new Pokemon. This is exactly what they need to continue this franchise. Yeah. And
Dazzling place we never knew.
they did also announce that if you're someone who wants to play both games, like many people do, they are selling a twin pack of Sword and Shield packaged together, or you can buy them individually. Now, pro tip here, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can go and buy Sword and Shield individually, and they will give you a $10 credit for each of them, or you can buy the double pack and you get only a single $10 credit. So if you're Amazon Prime and you want both, just buy the games separately.
You know what, Chris? I got a package deal for you.
No one's buying that.
You'd be surprised. I'm just kidding.
So November 15th, we've got 5 months basically until we can start playing Pokemon Sword and Shield. And Willie, I look forward to catching Pokemon with you.
We're gonna be throwing our balls at the wall for days, ain't we?
I'm really sad that you put it that way, but yes, we will.
But you know what really made me happy about this whole little segment?
What's that?
We followed up with Pokemon from Lazy Masturbations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I try.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I do what I can, man. I'm an entertainer, man. What can I
That
say?
brings a smile to my heart.
Oh, and a wink for my anus.
Oh, there we go. You know what else brings me a smile, though? Reminding everyone
for it.
that the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast is, in fact, part of a network of shows that you can find over at GonnaGeek.com. We've got 25 plus different shows on the network that cover a variety of topics, be it specific television programs like, say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Arrow television show, or general geek culture, or tabletop gaming, board gaming, video games. We've got all sorts of different shows in the network. And as much as I would love to tell you about every single one of them, I can't do that because we'd be here for probably another half hour. But what I can do is toss things over to Willie Nelson, where he's going to tell you about one specific show on the network for you to check out.
Oh, I've been holding on for this. I've been edging this for a while. I've been waiting on it. It's been 3 weeks since I did it. I can't wait. Or it's probably been longer because we didn't have one last time. I can't remember, but it's not back to you yet, Chris, so you shut your mouth. I am talking about On the Bubble podcast. They're talking about Witchblade, First Wave, and the Dresden Files, plus the role of physical items and fan camping. It's episode 35. Fans of the Dresden Files sent drumsticks. First Wave fans sent salt packets. And Witchblade fans sent Pez dispensers. But did any of these items actually move the renewal needle? Check it out and find out. Back to you, Chris.
Why, thank you, Willie. And for those that aren't aware, On the Bubble podcast is a podcast dedicated to talking about shows that were near cancellation and fan efforts to save them and how they succeeded or if they succeeded. So go check that out over at GonnaGeek.com. That being said, we are going to start wrapping things up. But before we shut this show down, we do have one last segment called What I'm Into. It's our chance to share with you guys who are watching live or listening at a later date just what kind of geeky and or nerdy things we've been getting into, so that maybe, just maybe, you'll want to check them out yourselves. Anthony, kick us off. What have you been getting into?
Played a little bit of Dauntless, which is free on PS4, a little bit of Anthem, a little bit of Apex Legends. They're wrapping up season 1. It's cool. They added in new weekly challenge features and gave away some free skins, and they created their second type of gameplay. Now, when you're playing a match, if you make it within the top 5, you then have the ability to your next match, you can queue up for elite top 5, and every team in that match, the 20 teams, are all teams that were top 5 in their previous match. So you're going up against better skilled players if you want to, and there's unlocks and new badges and stuff all attached to that. They added a couple of cool new skins. They finally added some of the PlayStation Plus free skins finally went live on the thing. So they're finally adding some new content as they wrap up season 1. There's, I think, 8 days left. I think it ends next Sunday, and then season 2 is going to be announced. Allegedly, through all the data mining, they know Watson's the next new character, which is going to be another defensive character, which they only have, I think, 2 of so far. So it's the category they need the most help in. So looking forward to playing season 2, because season 1 I've had a lot of fun. I actually maxed out the battle pass, maxed out my play level, and I just had a hell of a lot of fun playing with V. And I actually did a couple matches with Willie last night. And then playing some Dead by Daylight, getting ready for next weekend is going to be a blood hunt. I saved up, 300,000 blood points this weekend and put a whole bunch on Meg, finally leveling up my characters to, I haven't got all of the regular characters high enough to train their abilities on my other characters yet. So last night I finally had enough. I unlocked adrenaline for everybody. So hoping for this weekend I can get enough blood points, doing some Leatherface matches with the bonus barbecue and chili blood points to get all the double bonuses added up to get all of my characters at least above a level 30 and start training their perks to everybody else. I watched all of Good Omens, which was a fantastic fucking show. It's super fun. If you're a fan of David Tennant at all, go watch it. You'll love it. It's, Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman together writing the story about an angel and a demon trying to basically stop the apocalypse because they enjoy life on Earth. And they're supposed to be stopping the Antichrist from growing up to be too awful. And they end up finding out that, this character or this kid that we've been working on for 7 years is the wrong kid. We lost the Antichrist. Where is he? And just that, going from that point forward, it's hilarious. The special effects on the show are awesome. And David Tennant just kills it as a demon. He's so much fun to watch in the show. You can tell he had a blast the whole time they were playing. And Michael Sheen was great too, as Azazel, the angel. He's really funny through the whole thing. And then, there was mention in the chat room. I finally realized that Preacher season 3 was on Amazon, so I watched all of season 3. That's still possibly one of the best adaptations of a comic book that I never thought could be adapted into a show, and they did an amazing job on it. The guy that plays Jesse Custer, who was Howard Stark in the old Captain America movies back in the 40s, he nails that character so well. They did a really good job introducing the Jesse Custer family in Angelville in the 3rd season. And, of course, it's one of the most gruesome, bloodiest shows on TV. And going off of that, The Boys is coming out soon. So I'm looking forward to that, because that's a world where when superheroes go across the line, as the main character puts it, they get spanked. There's a team of CIA Black Ops characters that are basically superpowered to go out and punish superheroes that cross the line in a world where the Justice League is basically a corporate team owned by Voight Industries, I think it is, that they can basically do whatever they want. It's like if Superman was an egotistical asshole and all of his superpowered friends just went and murdered whoever they felt like it on any given moment, but they had corporate backing and a PR system to spin anything they did to make it look like a good idea. Like, it's a fucking crazy concept, and it looks like it's going to be a really fun show. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Blood Hunt next weekend. in Dead by Daylight. Probably playing some more of that today, maybe some more Apex. Yeah, just playing a lot of video games. And then I did finish reading Cosmos, which, yeah, that hurt my brain in the good way a little bit. Kind of give me a better understanding of some of the scientific concepts that maybe never thoroughly got grasped during high school. And then, yeah, I went and saw Dark Phoenix. And, like I said, wait for a second run theater or cable. Like, McAvoy and, Fassbender put in a good performance, but there's nothing in this movie that you're going to come out of the theater going, holy shit, I've never seen that in a movie before. Like, it all just seemed like stuff that's been done before. Oh, there's a scene where Quicksilver runs fast. Like, okay, like, Like, you can only reuse the same tropes over and over so many times. And yeah, honestly, I think the most disappointing thing was I don't believe for a moment that this Cyclops and this Jean Grey have a relationship. They have zero on-screen chemistry. And the one thing that you can say about James Marsden, Cyclops is, most people always think Cyclops is an asshole. He's the Boy Scout. Nobody likes him. But that's okay. You don't need to like him. He's the team leader. He's in charge. As long as you do what he says, you don't have to like him. But shit gets done because he's tactically smart. And at least James Marsden's character, like, encompassed that. And you felt bad for him when Famke Janssen died. You could tell he had actual feelings when Jean died in those X-Men movies. In this one, there's no feeling. There's no emotions between the two actors at all. It was so disappointing. But hey, it's done and it's going back to the big house of ideas. So I'm looking forward to see what Marvel does with the mutants. That's what I've been getting into.
So I'll take things next. I'm about to start a rewatch of The Good Place because they announced that season 4 is the final season of it, so I want to go and enjoy it. That is not a bad thing, I don't think. Michael Schur basically said that was always the plan, and I would rather they end it now before it turns into something terrible. They're written in on their own terms with a story that probably makes sense. I am playing Final Fantasy on the Switch, but it's not Final Fantasy 7 anymore. It's Final Fantasy 10 because I'm back on my bullshit. It's really
Good
fun.
man.
It's really fun. And speaking of being back on my bullshit, I started watching professional wrestling again. Because when I got back in town, the next day was the debut pay-per-view for All Elite Wrestling's Double or Nothing. It was damn good. They have equated
you're watching good wrestling.
They have equated it to a buffet of wrestling because they have a little something different for whatever your taste is. And there was good tag team wrestling, there was good high-flying wrestling, there was good brawling wrestling, there was good storytelling. For the first pay-per-view of a brand new company, I was really impressed with what I saw. I had fun, even with people I had no idea who they were on screen. I had a lot of fun seeing what they could do. And the Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes face-off that WWE never really pulled off. Holy shit, it was brutal. And it brought some grown men to tears as these two are about to face off and they start chanting Dusty, as in their father's name, right before they're about to do it and stuff like that.
Wait, so it was Cody versus Dustin, or was it Cody versus Goldust?
Goldust is owned by WWE, so
okay,
it was
that's
Cody
what I thought,
versus Dustin.
We haven't seen Dustin outside of the costume in so long.
He had a new look where half of his face was painted with like a red and black makeup effect, very similar to Goldust, and the rest of his face was his normal face, and he was wearing a similar Goldust suit that was red and black but with no sleeves because, as he put it on Chris Jericho's podcast, he wanted to finally show off his ink because he'd never gotten a chance to do it being in the full body suit. And goddamn did they put on a good match from a storytelling perspective. And Dustin bled. He bladed, and goddamn he was bleeding like a stuck pig through that. And if you've been watching WWE wrestling in recent years, they don't blade anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you should blade every match or anything like that, but from a shock value perspective, it's not something you see very often. And goddamn, and at the end of that match, you think he's going to retire. Cody wins. Cody comes back in the ring and says to the effect of he needs his brother to come and tag with him at the next pay-per-view, which was Cody and Dustin against the Young Bucks, which is going to be also a fantastic match because if you're not familiar with the Jacksons, they're a phenomenal group of tag team wrestlers, and they've just got a bunch of stuff set up that sounds really interesting, and I'm curious to see what they do between now and the fall when AEW hits TV, because AEW will be on TNT. They have a television contract in the fall. We don't know what date anything starts or how long the show is going to be, but they will not be just doing pay-per-views. They will have a television contract on TNT. And they also... Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, round 2, I think it was, in the main event. Very good match. And then at the very end of it, John Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose in the WWE, shows up and just wrecks everyone to set up a match with him and Kenny Omega in the future. And that could be a really good match. There's a ton of really cool stuff. And if you're a professional wrestling fan watching this, you're like, oh man, this is the kind of stuff that I really used to love versus, and I am taking a bit of a shot here, the more sanitized version of WWE we have, where you have a promo written out for you, you're going to read it. Your match follows a basic formula. There's not much variation between these matches. And here it was, these super athletic guys got to be super athletic and like do weird, crazy flips off the top rope. I really just enjoyed what I saw. And it brought back that part of me that I haven't had in a long time, where I loved professional wrestling. Like, I grew up with this stuff, and eventually I just kind of got turned off with it because I started to find it boring and the same kind of product. And here, maybe it's just because it's fresh and new. I really enjoyed it. And this is the first time in ages that I've actually paid for a pay-per-view wrestling event. I paid the $50 to watch this. And I did not walk away being like, oh man, I didn't get my money worth. I walked away and went, God damn, this was a ton of fun. I can't wait to see what they do next. And I think that's the best compliment you can give for someone starting out, is be like, I want to see where they go next with this. The women's wrestling, also fantastic. Like, WWE's talking about this whole women's revolution. They had a bunch of women that were wrestling in a couple different events, and they were all fantastic. All had varied movesets. They were all selling. Phenomenal. And they brought Awesome Kong back, who I hadn't seen in ages. Like, as a surprise. Like, you're supposed to have a triple threat match, and then they come out and go, we've got one last person, and it was Awesome Kong, and it was the second biggest pop of the night. It was when Awesome Kong walked out. Super, super cool event. I'm really curious to see where they go with it. They're really pushing really hard in the women's division, Dr. Britt Baker, and this is not a gimmick. She's an actual dentist who also wrestles. If you live in Orlando, you could have Dr. Britt Baker as your dentist, because she is an actual dentist who is practicing. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And the whole gimmick is built around, no, it's not really a gimmick, but everything about it, they would keep referring to her as Dr. Britt or Dr. Baker, because she is in fact a doctor legitimately.
She didn't work to get that PhD for no fucking reason.
Exactly. No shit. And I love the fact that they were building up around that. I'm really, really happy with how they've started all this stuff off. And they've got me, who was a lapsed wrestling fan, back being like, I'm probably going to watch some more of this stuff in the future. I'm not going to buy every pay-per-view, because paying $50 a month for a pay-per-view is insane in today's world. But I will certainly be checking them out when they hit TNT. And I will say this, for 48 years old, Chris Jericho is still killing it in the ring.
Thank you, DDP.
Yeah, thank you, DDP. And he did bust out a new finisher for his beginning in AEW called the Judas Effect, which is a reverse spinning elbow strike.
Nice.
And he used it to KO Kenny Omega, whose nose he legit broke within the first 5 minutes of the match. So Omega wrestled with a broken nose. You could just see the blood all down the front of his face throughout the entire thing. And it was a phenomenal experience. If you haven't been watching it, they've been doing a ton of videos on Cody Rhodes' YouTube channel, building up to Double or Nothing, the aftermath of Double or Nothing, and then kicking off the road to Fyter Fest, which I think is their next event. And it's been really interesting to watch that and see how they've pretty much built a story, not through having TV, but through Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and Twitter. That is how they've built their story, because a bunch of people watched this pay-per-view, and the only story you knew is what they'd put on YouTube to consume for free.
That's awesome.
It's really intriguing where they're going with it. I'm overselling it, I know. But if you get a chance, I'm sure they will put replays out there. Legitimately, they can be obtained, but I'm sure there's illegitimate ways you could watch some of those matches. I know they put some of them up on YouTube. Really good wrestling. Really, I don't think they're going to come in and beat the shit out of WWE and become number one, but I don't think that's their intent. I think their intent is just to be something different.
Well, when you said you were back on wrestling, I thought you were talking about Raw or something. I was like, really? Because they're still trying to tell me that Brock Lesnar is a wrestler, and I'm never going to believe that, because he can't work a mic.
I resubscribed to the WWE Network for a month because I wanted to watch Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. I'm totally okay with the $9.99 I effectively paid for WrestleMania to watch Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair in the main event of WrestleMania. It was a good match.
Yeah, I saw some awful tweet where somebody put up something like the last, I don't know if it was Raw or SmackDown, what show it was, but they said they did the math and like minutes for minutes of wrestling versus talking. It was something where the show did like 83% talking for a match for one night, where you have a 2-hour show and there was literally like 17% wrestling. Like,
so
what the fuck?
That's something that got talked about a little bit with John Moxley, formerly Dean Ambrose. When he unveiled himself at AEW the next day, Chris Jericho dropped a podcast of where he had him on the Talk Is Jericho podcast. In less than a week, it hit 1 million downloads, and it described the environment he found himself in working for WWE and why their creative is broken. And a lot of what he said, I was going, this kind of explains why I find the WWE product fairly boring. They've got all these talented folks, but it's boring. And here's why. So if that's something that interests you, the last thing Chris Jericho needs is a plug from me. But that episode of Talk Is Jericho was very good.
Well, plus they're contracted workers that can't work for anybody else, but they're still considered freelance, so they don't give them health care. Fuck you, WWE.
Yeah, AEW gives them all health care. Anyone under contract has health care, is my understanding.
Hell yeah, I will support that. Then AEW's got my fucking vote.
Yeah. But that is enough of me rambling. Willie, wrap things up for us. What do you mean get into, sir?
You're telling me to do the thing I hate the most, but I guess I'm here for
Do
a
it.
reason.
So, Willie, finish things up for us. Let me rephrase.
Do it.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
Do it.
For you.
Do it.
So let's start off with some music. I've been getting into some good music. I found this band called the Dead South. Very good. I got into some folky music, which modern folky music, and it is actually pretty damn good. Miss Lee, that's MISS and then LI. So Miss Lee, like Miss, hey, how's it going? Like that. And I've also I think I've mentioned this before, but Peking Duck, Say My Name. Look that up. You're welcome. And then I already told you about the movies I just saw. You already get my general impression of that. And let's keep this short and sweet, but also extend it out just a bit, because I'm going to tell you about the greatest show I have ever fucking seen. By far, I cannot think of a better show I have seen that I've enjoyed so much than Letterkenny. It is fucking fab. The writing, the delivery, the actors, how they do it, so good. It's only on Hulu. But if you can find it, or actually if you're up in the Great White North there, Mr. President, I believe Crave TV has an app or something that you can just watch it on. I'm not sure. I don't live up there. Can't tell you. I just know I live in America where it's locked out. But, oh my God, this show, just the deliveries alone. I cannot praise this enough. I never heard of it till like 2 weeks ago. And then I've already cleared out the entire catalog they have of 7 seasons. Which the first season only has 6 episodes, and then all the rest of the seasons have 7 episodes. So it's not that much, but the episodes feel like an hour long, but they're only half an hour, just because they feel so dense with story and in a good way. So highly recommended. Letterkenny, if you're not doing it, you're doing it wrong. So pitter patter, get at her. And never trust the ginger, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
I mean, it had to have been sick, right?
Could have been at least 3 of them.
Oh yeah. I mean, it has to be a dead one, right? Allegedly. But yeah, pitter patter now. Get on to it. Let's keep it short and simple. Go on, Chris. Let's do this.
Well, thank you, Willie.
Lazy masturbation.
So I think that is going to wrap up this latest installment of the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast. Don't forget, despite our having been gone for 3 weeks, we do stream this from this point forward live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, over on Geeks.live. That is the official streaming home of the Gonna Geek Network. You can find us and all the other shows on the network there. Feel free to subscribe to us, catch it on YouTube, whatever way you want to consume. We don't care. Just watch the stuff. So we are going to shut this down, but before we get out, final thoughts. What do you guys got for us?
So you're wrapping up a podcast with your friends the other day.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like it. Don't put on the PlayStation VR to use porn, because that's just a waste of time and it's not even all that good. Just go out and find a girl. Vaginas are great.
Thank you for that one, Willie. I don't think anyone would dispute what you've just said there. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will be back next Sunday. And if you want to watch more live content, swing by geeks.live this evening for an all-new Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Bye, guys.
Later.
Thanks for listening to this brand new episode of the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast. Don't forget, we'll be back next Sunday live at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central over at live.atgnpodcast.com, channel 3 of the Alpha Geek Radio app, and over at our network home at gonnageek.com/live. If you have any feedback for the show, please contact us atgnpodcast@gonnageek.com, on our hotline number at 304-806-ATGN, or even better, go to Twitter and send us a message at ATGN Podcast. The music you've heard in this show is produced by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com.